From Watford to Hollywood, Geri Halliwell is one of the most iconic women of the last 2 decades.
Everybody around the world knows Ginger Spice.
Geri was well and truly a wannabe, and nothing was going to stand in her way on the road to fame and fortune.
We are doing exactly what we want to do. We're pursuing a dream.
Right from the early days of the Spice Girls, Geri was determined to make her mark on the world. Spice Girls! And her show-stealing appearance in a skimpy, patriotic dress became one of the defining images of the 90s.
I love her dress. I think she made a huge stamp and it's iconic. I mean, come on now. She knows what she's doing.
She was the one that would take on the producers head on if I introduced them. You know, she could be very naughty, especially if they were male.
I know you want to.
Geri's breast falling out at the Brit Awards. I don't think she staged that, but, you know, it grabs the front pages.
For Geri, the limelight could be difficult to share, and she tried to grab as much of it as she possibly could.
It just became a little bit competitive, who could push the boundaries the most. And it was funny, obviously, meeting Prince Charles. Mel B kissed him, Geri pinched his bum.
You have the world's press just 10 feet away. She couldn't help herself.
Do you know, I think you're very sexy. Oh, no!
I was dancing when I was 12.
Geri grew up in a modest 3-bedroomed house in Watford.
Young Geri was always wanting to be the centre of attention.
Always performing, even at home performing, singing into the hairbrush when she was little. I'd be playing the guitars and doing backup vocals behind her.
I think Geri doted heavily on her father, maybe because of the attention that my father gave her as regards, you know, her potential. He obviously saw something early on, so yeah, I'd call her a bit of a daddy's girl, definitely.
But by the time Geri left school, she'd become a bit of a handful.
When Geri was a teenager, she went a bit wild.
Geri used to disappear maybe for a day or even longer. She'd go on a rave, and these raves would start at 11 o'clock at night, and they'd go right the way through the night to the early hours of the next morning.
My memories of Geri were standing on the pool table, dressed in an all-in-one silver catsuit, jumping up and down, you know, being as loud as ever, and everyone knew Geri.
Geri soon found herself a job aged 18, podium dancing in nightclubs. Always looking for a way to turn heads, she soon graduated to glamour modelling.
I remember being a little bit concerned, stroke slightly horrified, thinking, well, where's this going to lead?
It might have looked like Geri was going off the rails, but she definitely had a master plan. Fame by any means necessary.
This is the fashion police, and baby, you're busted.
A break came as a game show hostess. It made her a household name. In Turkey. Just as Geri's quest for fame and fortune was gaining momentum, she received some terrible news. Her father, who'd always encouraged her to follow her dreams, had suffered a sudden and fatal heart attack.
Yeah, she was absolutely devastated, as we all were.
She went into shock. She was... I don't think she could believe it. None of us could. And it was so sad that he never got to see her. It was a massive...
In 1994, Geri's plans to audition for the Spice Girls went horribly wrong when she spent too much time in the sun on a family holiday.
At first I was quite irritated by her because, you know, she was sort of coming on the phone and the plans were all constantly changing with her. She couldn't make an audition, you know, she was coming up with excuses.
But being Geri, she didn't allow a tiny problem like missing an audition to get in her way.
I think I blagged it a little bit and just was a bit loud and just pretended to be Mariah Carey.
Geri's determination paid off. She was in the group. The manager moved all 5 of them into a modest 3-bedroom semi in Maidenhead.
Victoria and Emma shared. Mel C and Mel B shared. And, of course, Geri had her own room.
Because I am the original pop queen, everyone says.
Imagine 5 girls out of college, so I was about 18, 19, and it was just madness, chaos.
We'd wake up at 3 in the morning and go out clubbing in London.
It was Geri who was impatient for success.
No, I'm just
like time's running out, I've got to get there.
She was a bit older than the other girls and was probably looking at this and thinking, well, this is the last shot at it, really. So, you know, she really had hold of it with two hands and really drove the project.
I tell you what, there's millions of kids out there that want to be pop stars. Do you know what I mean? And we're actually taking steps closer and closer to a dream.
The thing is with Geri, she's very organised actually, and quite bossy. she kept us all in line.
But you made things. I made that.
Geri and Mel B had a very fiery relationship.
I know I did. I just forgot a bit. That's why.
The thing is with me and Geri, once you put us together, which we were together quite a lot, but just me and her, there was no stopping. You know, it would actually be better for us two if Melanie was around, because then she'd go, look, you two, can you just stop? Me and Geri alone together, craziness.
Yo, tell me what I want, what I really, really want. So tell me what you want,
After 2 years of relentless rehearsal and a change of manager to Simon Fuller, their first single, Wannabe, became our #1 smash hit.
I wanna really, really, really wanna zig ah.
And the girls went on to conquer the world.
If you wanna be my...
In the summer of 1998, the Spice Girls had launched their biggest world tour to date.
As time went on, Geri's power was slightly taken away from her. It was diminishing. Other people were coming through the ranks within the band. And I don't think she felt comfortable with that. And certainly she was getting depressed.
I think I recall her saying now, like, the Spice Girls had become a monster that was spinning out of control as such, and she had no control on that.
Today is Thursday the 28th of May. I'm in Paris and yesterday I left the Spice Girls.
Geri turned up at my door 2-3 o'clock one morning in tears. Let her in and she's saying it's all over, I need to leave the country, I need to get out of here, I need to get away.
It was very difficult and I didn't know she was going, and I was a bit like, oh.
We'd made a pact, me and her, that if she wanted to leave, she'd tell me, or if I wanted to leave, I'd tell her, and she just left, like, all of a sudden just vanished. It was really, really upsetting for me.
This is a message to the fans.
Geri offered no explanation for her departure, and what she was going to do next was unclear, but she did say she would be back.
I thought she was making a mistake. They were her best friends, they were so close, and I didn't know how she was going to cope on her own, to be honest.
At that point in her life where I think she was a little bit kind of confused and lacking direction and not really knowing what she wanted to do, it must have been very hard to sort of see this continuing success story going on.
But help was at hand from her old friend George Michael, who, having left Wham at the height of their fame, knew exactly what she was going through.
George rang her up and said, well, we got a house in Saint-Tropez, and he said, why don't you come stay with us? I encouraged her to not be Ginger Spice, so I'm like, we're going to get you some normal clothes. George probably helped her more with, you know, her career.
In 1999, after just over a year out of the limelight, Geri made a typically show-stealing comeback performance for an old friend.
Happy birthday to you.
In 2005, Geri became a proud mum to daughter Bluebell Madonna Halliwell.
Bluebell is an absolute credit to her. She's such a gorgeous child, and Geri absolutely adores her. And she's a great, great mum.
You know, she was having to get up and change nappies and feed and dress, and because she didn't want to just hand her off.
I think she's got more compassion to herself now. She looks after herself better, more compassionate about those around her.
Bluebell's going through that spell right now where she just says what she thinks. Most of the time she says no. She doesn't want to do something. Her child is going to be the biggest success story of her life.
Geri's also found happiness in her love life.
I suppose I always believed that Geri would end up, she'd always find Mr. Right, but I didn't realise it would be an aristocrat.
And against all the odds, she's also made friends with her former bandmates.
It was a really good thing. It was lovely when they got back together. I was really happy for her. She always had guilt about leaving the girls, and I think it would have followed her forever.
We want to thank you for believing in the Spice Girls and making our dreams come true.
And last month, 13 years after she first wore that dress, Geri was back, picking up an award for the Best Brits performance of the last 30 years.
I'm a bit shocked. First of all, I want to say a big...
And still tussling for the limelight with Mel B.
And next Saturday...